Welcome to Reno Radio. I'm your host, Naomi Findlay, Australia's renovation royalty. My podcast is all about real advice for renovating, designing beautiful spaces, tradie advice, and my weather to wonderful passion, where we interview amazing rural property owners who are turning their spaces from weathered to wonderful with great design and great renos. Creating beautiful spaces doesn't have to be hard. In fact, it can be one of the most rewarding things you ever do. So, join me and my impressive list of guests each week for plenty of feel-good, inspiring, and real advice. This is Reno Radio. This week we have with us Julie from Highland Getaway. So welcome to the show, Julie.
Thank you. Love to be on the show.
I'm really excited to have you here because I tell you what, I fell in love with your Instagram feed. And it wasn't just the beautiful mountains, it was the amazing beasts that I saw in nearly every photo. They just made me want to hug them. Tell me a little bit about Highland Getaway.
Highland Getaway is my absolute passion. I love the HuonValley, the area that I live in. I've got just the most amazing, gorgeous cattle. I'm new to farming, so I knew absolutely nothing of it before.
Wow!
And I love learning and making mistakes and learning from it and enjoying it all.
Whereabouts is exactly Highland Getaway, for those that don't know Hidden Valley?
Okay, the suburb is Ranelagh. It's in the HuonValley in Tasmania. So it's Southern Tasmania.
Wow. And you said that you weren't a farmer and now you run cattle.
I do.
That's amazing. So tell me about that. What were you before that?
I used to run a very busy photography studio, so I used to actually be the reception and bookkeeper. I used to manage the business, so I was literally stuck behind a computer and on a phone all the time. And, see a glorious day outside and couldn't even get out into it. And now I spend my days running around the paddocks with the cattle, working outside, still doing bookwork at night time and texting and people during the day and night. But I spend a lot more time outside and I spend a lot of time with people face to face now rather than talking on the phone to them.
So you're much more connected, it sounds, in every way in life, connected to people.
I was very connected when I ran the photography business because I felt that business was about people and making people feel special. I mean, everyone used to always want to meet me after talking to me and having text and email communication. But now I do that, now I can actually meet people and get out and show them what I love, and it's just lovely being able to do that face to face.
So, for a lot of people listening to this, you would appear to be this most amazing, pioneering, brave, outrageous woman that's gone, I'm going to move from, where were you before when you were in
Queensland?
Oh my gosh, that makes it even more outrageous. I'm going to move from my warm, cozy, very safe, I'm assuming, job into running a Highland Getaway and having cattle on my property and becoming a farmer. Like, how did that all transpire?
Well, for a little while, I actually used to run the photography studio and the farm together at the same time, and then circumstances changed so that I could then do the farm full time. And it's just been a huge learning experience. The community here in Tasmania is fantastic, very helpful. Learn from a lot of the locals and there's a lot of mainlanders that are moving down to Tasmania, so we learn together. It's lovely meeting other people getting into farming. But you're right, do things my way. I do it different. I like to think that I'm doing some things smarter rather than harder because I do have to do it by myself. So dealing with big rounds of hay, having the right equipment, and being able to use that effectively, safely, and I'm not killing myself, so that's good.
That's always positive.
Yeah, and then when I take people out, I do farm tours as well. So when I take people out on farm tours, I love showing people what I do, and they're usually absolutely stunned and think it's fantastic.
So tell me more about Highland Getaway first. So it is somewhere people can come and stay.
Yes.
So tell me a bit more about the property, because I've seen it online and I've seen your beautiful herd online.
Yes.
And they literally, they are something out of a poster shoot. Everything about them makes you want to go visit there. So tell me what's there at Highland Getaway.
Okay, Highland Getaway, I've got 67 acres.
Wow.
It's beautiful scenic land. I have changed my home so that it is also a B&B. So each end of the house I've set up as very private, luxurious suites. They have amazing views. I've got floor-to-ceiling windows in the bedroom.
Wow.
You actually lie in bed and look out the windows. At night time, you're looking out to the stars and the landscape, and in the morning you wake up to this beautiful scenery and when the cows are in the paddock just below the house, then you're looking out at the cows as well.
Wow. And so you didn't build when you bought the property, there was already a dwelling on there and you converted that.
No. So when we bought the property about 8.5 years ago, it was paddock. So I've done a lot of learning.
So you built the property?
Yes.
Wow. So you built a custom bespoke design so that you could have Airbnb at either end and you could live centrally and service both of those. No. Oh, my gosh, tell me more.
Moved onto this property, as I said, 8.5 years ago, and it was just paddock. It was beautiful grass about waist high. We had to create paddocks. We probably spent about $100,000 on fencing. And we knew that I started off with a few alpacas, and we knew that they weren't going to eat the grass down. and then I saw some Highland cattle, and we bought our first 5, and we did everything else about, because we bought the cattle and then we went and did a workshop to learn about them.
There's something very cool about that, though. There's something very cool about jumping, because it absolutely then insists that you educate yourself, and promptly.
Yeah. And, bought the cattle, and we even got to rent a bull. So we got a bull we rented him for about 3 months, where he mated with our girls, and got a few calves, and then I'd buy a few more animals from here and there. And we wanted to, I suppose, I started the venture off with my partner, but we're not together anymore. It turned out he was allergic to hay.
Oh, that isn't even funny, Julie. Oh my gosh.
It's not good on a property where you've got to deal with hay all the way through winter, and then you've got grass seed and hay all through summer.
Oh my gosh. That is an ultimate spanner in the works.
Yeah, it is. So it meant that I had to do everything outside myself and be able to deal with the animals. So
how many head do you have now?
40.
Wow.
And I've got 16 calves due in February.
And will you deliver those?
Yeah. Yep. So you need to learn animal behaviour so you can watch.
Are you that hands-on on your farm?
Yeah, I am. I've stuck my arm up in places I don't like to think about.
Wow, that's amazing. So this isn't only – so what you first put paddock fences up, you then popped in some cows and got them a lovely gentleman to hang with. And then did you ever start this venture? Like, did you have this full vision the whole time that you'd have this phenomenal accommodation place?
No.
You'd be running farming tours. Did it evolve over time for you?
It evolved, yeah.
Okay. And so
but didn't have any idea about doing B&B to start off with. It was purely...
No, really?
Yeah. So, to start off with, it was about having property and then realising that we needed to make some money off animals to help justify having the land and to help pay for it. We ended up getting council approval to build a cafe gallery on the property, and it was going to be paddock to plate.
Perfect.
That was more my partner's dream. We've since separated, and I've managed to take over the mortgage on the property and pay him out. So now it's solely me, and I have my parents as my support. They've moved down from Queensland and going to be a support for me, which has just been brilliant.
And so did you build the cafe?
Sorry?
Did you build the cafe?
No. So we've got the approval for it, but I'm not going to do it because that was more his passion. Okay. I've got more exciting things that I'm going to get into.
So tell me about your passion then. So you bought it literally with, we wanted to be on the land, we've got cattle, wow, we need to work out how to make it monetized in some way.
Yes.
So then the next step for you, the B&B?
Yes. Yeah, so it was the B&B and then doing farm tours. So my guests that come and stay come out and walk around the paddocks with me, and we feed the silky chickens and the alpacas. Then we go and load up a round of hay and give it out to the cattle, and people are actively helping in that sometimes, depending on what mood the cattle are in. Sometimes they're mischievous, and it's better that they sit in the ATV rather than be out walking with them. But otherwise, we normally do get out and walk amongst the cattle, and people get to give some of them a bit of a scratch or feed them some hay by hand. And I've got 2 different herds, so we go and visit this, we do both herds, and I usually take them for a bit of a tour around the property and talk to them about what I've done and what I'm going to do, what I'm going to get into next, because I like sharing my passion and my dream.
Absolutely. And so when people come to visit Highland Getaway in the calving season, do they get to see, like if they're lucky enough, they get to be part of that beautiful experience of watching Highland cattle birthing?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's goosebumpable. I remember I was hiking in Peru, and there was an epic, amazing scenery everywhere, but one of the most amazing things that I took from it was we were at quite high altitude. There wasn't much there other than llamas, and I watched this in the wild at a ridiculous altitude, this llama birth, a beautiful little baby llama. And it was one of the, I'd had 4 kids myself, so I wasn't estranged to the idea, but there was something outrageous about in the mountains at altitude, in nature, just watching that process. And I'm assuming it would be quite the same for you. Does that ever get boring, or is it amazing every time?
No, it's amazing. Yeah. The last season when I had 15 calves, I got to see 9 of them being born. I was actually right there watching them.
Wow. That fills your boots, doesn't it?
It does. It's gorgeous.
And so tell me about some of your other exciting plans. So you've got the Airbnb or the B&B happening there, where people can come for, if you haven't already seen Highland Getaways, you must get on Instagram. There will be links in the show notes, because the Instagram feed, it's just, I remember when I first approached you, Julie, and you said to me, I'm happy to talk about it, but you need to see it.
Yes.
And when I was on your Instagram feed, I can only imagine why, because I'm sure it doesn't even do it justice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are your other big plans?
Okay, so yes, I do farm tours for my guests, but I also do farm tours for the general public as well. I've been speaking with chefs about having cooking classes in my kitchen. So I'd have different chefs coming through and offering cooking classes for different cuisines.
Yes.
I'm looking at getting into weddings and events.
Wow.
Where I'd be setting up part of my property so that people can get married on the property. There's beautiful areas for it. And they'll be able to actually stay because I'll put in glamping as well.
Yeah.
And I've been developing areas so that the glamping is right on the Huon River, gorgeous views. They could then go down the stairs to the river, go swimming, fishing, kayaking, whatever they like. And then doing events, I've seen things in Queensland where they'll have like a restaurant without walls and do a long table. And I've got this beautiful bush area where we can put in a long table. And I like the idea if I can get the support from people to do events so that it's themed like Game of Thrones or Harry Potter or Halloween. And it's just an absolutely gorgeous scene where we can set it all up. So,
that sounds so exciting. So had you been thinking about this for a long time?
That's got more appeal to me rather than a cafe gallery because, there's just so much fun you can have. And I've got an old truck that I'm going to put a new tray on so that can be for the band. I've got another little truck front that I want to convert it so it'll be the bar. There's lots
that is perfect. So tell me, when you're up in Queensland working in a photography business, were you always, on looking at properties in the country? Were you hankering at it? If so, what made you do it? If not, then did you just literally wake up one day and say, I'm going to do this?
Okay, so back in Queensland, had no idea that I was going to be doing anything like this. I've very much surprised myself. And it was a case of moving to Tasmania for a lifestyle change, getting away from the heat and getting away from the real rat race and really relaxing and enjoying life rather than being go, 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 go.
Yes.
And bought a property with 2.5 acres and had just a few sheep.
Yes.
And then went looking for 15 acres and all the 15-acre blocks are gone in the area that we were looking. And the real estate agent, in his wisdom, said, you've really got to go for a drive onto this property. And then we did, and then it was like, oh my goodness. How do we get it? What do we do? And then we started from scratch.
Yes. Wow. And
it's a lot of work, but a lot of fun, very rewarding.
If you had your time again, so if there'll be lots of people listening to this going, oh my gosh, yes, imagine hosting events, imagine waking up to the mountains every single day, imagine swimming in the river with my dog or my kids or whatever it might be, and someone was, tossing the idea around, what would be a couple of your biggest learns or things you wish you had done differently?
I don't think there is anything.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's, I'm happy with what I've done. I'm happy with where I'm at, and I'm excited for where I'm going. And I wouldn't change anything.
What about your top tips for anyone wanting to do it?
Listen to your heart and your head.
Listen to your heart and your head. Has your heart ever steered you wrong in this venture?
No.
That's amazing, Julie. That is so great. That is so great. And what would you say for those? Because often I, in a lot of the work I do, I will often hear people say, yeah, well, that's a great idea, but there are other people doing it, so I can't do it now. What would you say to somebody who felt that way?
I mean, I could think that as well. I mean, there is lots of beautiful property in Tasmania.
Yes.
And there is plenty, there are other people out there that could have Highland cattle, which are a major draw card for people.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, they're not me.
Perfect.
Because I feel that I do share what I've got. I share what I've done, and I like to be real.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people do connect with that, and so other people can't be me.
And so that's really all about when you're truly passionate with something and you truly love it, that it is an experience. It's not just that you have Highland cows. It's not just that you're in beautiful Tasmania. Yeah. It's in the experience that the property, everything that's there, and you provide to people that come.
Yeah, I think if you were worried about or thinking that somebody else could do it, you'd never do anything.
So true, isn't it? You would never do anything because there's not much in our world nowadays that someone hasn't thought of or hasn't done.
Yeah.
I love it. I've absolutely loved talking to you, Julie. You're very, very inspiring.
Thank you. Look, I don't think so, but I get told that all the time. But it's just about loving what you do and sharing what you do. I mean, I could have this property and the fact that I am in a position where I can share it with other people actually makes it even more special.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you know what? As human beings, we all crave the one thing, which is connection. We all want to connect and we all want to share, whether it's with animals, whether it's with the land, whether it's with our homes, whether it's with people. It is what we are driven and wired to do as individuals. And I'm just so excited that you're doing it and you're loving what you're doing and you're sharing what you're doing. And it's really inspiring. And I'm so grateful that you've taken time out to chat to us today about it.
That's fine. You're welcome.
Oh, that's awesome. Anyone who is listening that wants to learn more about the property that Julie is on and maybe go see her Highland cows and realistically learn from her. If you have a hankering that you may have wanted a property in the country, you may have a property anywhere. It might be in Dubbo in New South Wales. It might be in Longreach in Queensland. It might be in Broome in WA. And you really you love it. You want to find love in it again. You want to share that with people. You know what? Julie sounds like the ideal person to go stay with. Go stay with her. Go birth a beautiful Highland cow and be inspired, because that little glint in people's hearts, I think, Julie, you can show them how to follow that. And I think that's really special. So thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me today, guys, on Reno Radio. It has been a blast. I would love it if you subscribed so you never missed a beat of this podcast. And naturally, let me know what you think. I love to hear everyone's feedback and reviews. If you'd like to know more about all the services and content that we produce at naomifindlay.com, then head on over to naomifindlay.com. You can also keep an eye on what I'm up to on my Instagram. You can find me there at Naomi Findlay Official. Until next time, team, enjoy.